Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffrey Combs.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jeffrey Combs coming on just a little late here this afternoon for Tuesday GMS Facebook Live. For years, this was called the More Heart Than Talent Mindset Call at Tuesday night, 10:30 Eastern. And that call actually peaked at one time with over 1,000 live listeners with a Jim Rohn interview. Eric Picard, welcome to Facebook Live this afternoon. Brian, welcome to Facebook Live. Casey, looking forward to coaching you this week. J.A. Johns, I'm waiting for you, baby. Waiting for you, J.A. Johns. Great to coach you. You're a first-class human being. For those of you who do not know J.A. Johns, Jay is a Navy veteran, an exceptional first-class human being. So let's give Jay a hand for serving our country admirably. I'd like to acknowledge all veterans, men and women in blue, firefighters. Amy Gilberg, thank you very much for being the wife of a first-class man. Your husband, Tom, has served NYPD Blue for well over 20 years. Steve Tracy, thank you for your service. Steve is a private security guard standing the gap in very challenging times. Thank you, everyone, for being on today's Facebook Live. Kennedy, welcome. Jody King Driscoll in Boston, welcome. Amy, thank you. If I missed you as you're coming into the call. Susan Ross McCarthy, I've been attempting to get a hold of you. Who else would like to say hello this afternoon? I'll reach out to you very soon, Susan. Kevin, love you, my brother. I am going to cover Becoming Your Best You. Last night I was reading this book. As you can see, this is worn out. This is letting go. I was reading this book very, very late last night, and I was reading specifically the chapter or the topic of wealth. And it doesn't break it down into money, but it's wealth. So if you'd like to really advance your dialogue with money, look into Letting Go, David Hawkins, near the back of the book. There is a section called Wealth, groundbreaking content for you. Mr. Ken Ludwig, so good to see you, and I want to give Ken a plug. Ken is a very, very successful spiritual speaker, leader, and Ken was my teammate back in 1997 and 8 when we were part of a very interesting organization. A lot of the content that you see happening in the world, Ken and I were exposed to it through David Icke, Ron Paul, and let's see who else, G. Edward Griffin. So Ken was my teammate in 1997 and 8. He was in my team. And then Ken was one of my very first coaching clients in 1998 and 9. Ken went on to be a very, very successful speaker himself. So Mr. Ken Ludwig, Denver, Colorado, good to see you. Once again, Susan, and we're going to move into the inspirational portion of today's Facebook Live. Ken, please send me a message or a friend request. Would love to connect with you. I have many, many people on my Facebook Lives who I coached back in 2001 and 2. Quinn Curtis, who's on Facebook Live, also sent me copies of cassette audio programs that he had of mine in 2001. Larry, looking for you, baby. Good to connect with you. So thank you, Quinn. So let's move into the inspirational portion of today's Facebook Live. So in the GMS studios today, I have been highly, highly productive. I have 7 hours of coaching. I have done 3 prospecting calls, and I have encountered what many of you encounter. I'd really like to hire you, but so understand that is a major component of sales, branding, marketing. You will encounter objections. People that absolutely see the value, but for whatever reason aren't able to follow through and let go of whatever the situation there is. And that's not about you. That's about whatever the situation is. That's how you let go of being personal. And so in becoming your best you, you don't make it about anyone else and you don't make it about you. You live in a neutral space called consciousness. Not everyone's a qualified buyer. Even qualified buyers don't buy at times. There are people who see the value, but because of their own situations, they're not able to let go of their own commitment issues, their ability to transmute their feelings. They have challenges with money. Whatever the situation is, you want to be able to understand why people do what they do and then successfully let people go without personalizing it, feeling rejected, feeling abandoned, turning it into a story, getting overwhelmed. And as you do that, you're able to be your best you, because then you're not personalizing it. You're not creating a story out of something that isn't real. You're able to move on to the next encounter. You're able to move into the next situation. You don't leave situations in the past lingering, holding on to the past, and then worrying about events that haven't happened in the future. The more you understand the mechanism of letting go, separating feelings from events. So Jennifer Spar, who is on the Facebook Live this afternoon, was a guest on a podcast today, and she let me know that she crushed it. A couple of years ago when I first met Jennifer, she would not have showed up in the relaxed body that she did today. I know that in coaching her for years that she was able to let go, not turn it into a story that hasn't happened, and be her best you. Now in consciousness, there is no performance. We're not athletes. Our lives aren't on the line every day. We're not firefighters. We're not police officers. We're business owners. We're souls having human experiences. And you hear the term best performance. So in owning a business, you're not performing. What you're doing is being your best you. I mean, you're being your best you. And that means that you're being your best you, free of anxiety, fear, and doubt. You don't have a story about a future that hasn't happened, and you're not living in the pain or regret. You're able to easily and effortlessly let situations go. And also, when situations avail themselves or opportunities, you're able to commit and decide without overanalyzing, overthinking, and holding on to situations. And when you see an opportunity, you're able to move into a relaxed body and capitalize on it. Or if you also see something that isn't for you, you're able to easily and effortlessly let go and neutralize it, and then you're present and you don't linger, you don't hold on to it. So the energy that many people hold on to is called doubt. I should have, I could have, I ought to have. And I was explaining to one of my clients that I grew up in a situation with someone in my circle of influence that was a doubter. They would see an opportunity and then they would spend time vacillating on it. They would spend time saying they should have. And I promised to myself that that would not be me. And I promised to myself that when I became a millionaire one day, I would tip people the way I wanted to be tipped. And tipping means to sure and promptness. So that is my way of putting reciprocity and prosperity back into the universe. Now you may do that however you want to do that, but to be able to have a dialogue with money that's conducive to creating it, it's going to require you to be your best you. That means your best value. If you doubt your value, you can't possibly be your best you. You're in a mixed message. If you're overwhelmed and not certain about what your business is, where you're going, who you are, you're in a mixed message. You can't possibly be your best you. You can't possibly sit down and write on command. You won't be able to write the content that will deliver the outcome that you seek. You won't be able to attract your reality, people, and situations to fulfill cause, meaning, and purpose. Now, when you move into a place in your life, in your business, that who you're being and what you're doing has meaning, and when you're coming from being cause-driven, and when you are purpose-driven, when you're coming from a purpose, and you're able to state your purpose, the reason I'm contacting you, the reason I'm reaching out to you, the purpose of my connection with you. When you're able to state that purpose, that's because you have one. If you don't have a purpose, then it's going to be very challenging for you to be able to convey the value of either what you're selling, branding, marketing, the benefit, the feature, or the outcome that you seek, because you'll be in that mixed message. A mixed message is when your foot's on the dock and your foot's on the boat. A mixed message is when you live in doubt. A mixed message is when you know you should move forward, but you don't. You know you're going to wait. You're going to think about it. You're going to vacillate on it. You're going to ruminate on it. You're going to continue to hold on to it until eventually you let go of control, and then oftentimes it's too late because the opportunity is past. Opportunities are seized and capitalized on people who see it, not people who think about it and people who vacillate on it. It's going to be, if you're an athlete or if you were in any kind of conflict, it's going to be important that you're able to adapt and adjust, that you have great reflexes. You're able to see the situation. You don't spend a lot of time analyzing, thinking, living in your head. As you be able to let go of that, now you live in a place called intuition. You intuit. In a higher level of it's called extrasensory perception, also referred to as sixth sense. In quantum physics, neuroscience, it's called the quantum field. It means you're able to access, receive, and deliver all in the same energy. For those of you who understand what goes on behind the veil, for those of you who receive the content, for those of you who aren't worried about the outcome that you see, because you know that you unequivocally are in the flow. So Jay, my brother, I will contact you immediately afterwards. So as you are in the flow, like ITF, like as you move into that in the flow. Now I know Ken Ludwig. Ken was my client. I've followed some of his content. I know that he and I are like this because I know he's feeling that. So once again, Ken's someone that I highly endorse you reach out to. And when you're able to let go, you're in the flow. You're in that flow. And as you're in that flow, now you're in a place called the hands-free zone. That is your best you. Now, those of you who have seen my assistant, Dylan Albertson, I don't have a son. He is the son of Tiffany and Marty Albertson, which, once again, here's a 6 degree of separation. Tiffany Albertson was now this is my best you. So Tiffany Albertson was my coaching client for 3 years. She introduced me to her son, Dylan. Her son, Dylan, is the son of her and Marty Albertson. Marty and I went to the same college between 1977 and 1979. I knew who he was. He knew who I was. He was a Tau Sig. I was a GDI. I was not a fraternity person. I was too involved in the drug world at that point and was so checked out the entire time I was in college, partying my ass off, barely getting by, living on caffeine, methamphetamine, cocaine, marijuana, and a series of alcoholic concoctions. So that was me. Marty was an All-American football player and baseball player, played minor league baseball, and was a last-second cut in the NFL. That is my assistant, and I knew his father in 1977 and 1979. Then factor this, like 30-some years later, he's my assistant. What are the odds of that? Very likely with me. That always happens to me. That's the 6 degrees of separation that I live in, broken down to 1 or 2 degrees. So that's why Ken Ludwig would be on Facebook Live today, and he was one of my first clients back in 1998, and he and I saw David Icke speak, and he and I saw the same content, and we heard the content that is happening in today's world. So the pedophilia that you see that now is happening in today's world, I was exposed to that in 97 and 8, the content. And so the biological apocalypse that is happening in today's world, I was exposed to that in that time frame, the possibility of it. So, that's what can happen as you're open to receive. When you are no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape your feelings, you're separating your feelings from the events that shape them. Jay Napier is on my Facebook Live here today. Jay was my client in 2006 and 7. Jay is also a top-tier internet marketer. Jay, good to see you, my brother, and thank you for being here. So, Tracy, good to see you here this afternoon. I love to see my clients here. Mackenzie, I believe you are the daughter of Jody, so welcome to today's Facebook Live. Now, when you are no longer the mind-body connection of the events that shape the feelings, what that means in context is that you are you and you are free. You are free of your past, meaning you can accept your past, you can acknowledge your past, but you aren't your past. Your past is your past, and you're able to put it in a place on the shelf where you go, that's my past, I can accept that. And then over there, that's your future, and you're not worried about it. It hasn't happened. You're creating it. You're creating your future now. So you've heard the term, the future is now. What that means is you have such clarity about the outcome of the future you're creating that you're actually living it while it's happened in real time. So people that have visions and people who time travel and shapeshift, and they're able to have outer body experiences and see colors and visions and situations like that. I've experienced it myself and interviewed many people. These are the people who have clarity. They can actually see the outcome before it happens. Now, artists are able to do that. For any of you who get to see Kira Fairchow, she is a top tier oil painter that's my client from Montana. If you want to go to her website, kirafairchow.com, she is an exceptional painter. And on our Facebook Live today is a world-class artist, Colleen Sabol-Olitsky. Her husband, Jason, is unequivocally one of the top dentists in America. He commands definitely what the free market will bear. Colleen and her husband are artists when it comes to the art of a smile. I have seen pictures of me standing next to Colleen that are absolutely amazing. I mean, amazing. So Colleen goes, he is amazing. He is an amazing husband. He's an amazing father. He's an amazing client. So are you, Colleen. Colleen, I love being your coach. I get tears for the connection I've formed with you. And see, when you're your best you're able to form relationships with people that can't be broken. When you're able to be your best you're able to attract your reality from very, very deep places in consciousness. In the 6 degrees of separation, they break down so that when you're connecting and communicating with people, there's a feeling like this. There's a feeling like you can go to dinner with someone like that and you just go like this. You can just tap them on the fist because you fucking know them. You know it. You know them. You know, and you just shake your head. You know. And in that space of the quantum field, in the morphinogenic energy, you're attracting to your reality at a very high level of frequency because you are you and you are free. Now that phenomenon requires an experience. So you can't really explain it until you've experienced it. It's one of those phenomenons that once you've crossed the bridge, then you can repeat it. But when you stand behind it trying to figure it out, it doesn't happen. When you let go, miracles can happen. I mean, absolute situations happen to you that have happened to me. I went from and Ken Ludwig was there. He saw it happen. I went from $100,000 in credit card debt to a $500,000 year in 12 months. T.C. Bradley saw that happen also. So T.C. Bradley was my upline in a direct sales company in 1996 when that happened to me. And it was a collection of all these people that showed up in a 28-month period. And it was a byproduct of the repetition and experience. It's the tracks I'd been laying for 6 years. It was 10 years of sobriety, back to back, going to hundreds and thousands of meetings, reading books, listening to audio cassettes, and putting in the 10, 12-hour days required to be and stay an entrepreneur while I was achieving almost nothing in free enterprise. I made 6 figures once in my first 7 years as a business owner in network marketing, direct sales, owning my own businesses in recovery, and had to have menial part-time jobs at different times in my career. I waited tables at a place called the Fish Market. I'll never forget, Steppenwolf was playing outside. Nazareth was playing outside on this stage outside in Stockton, California. Blue Oyster Cult was playing outside. They were so fucking loud, it was unbelievable. I'm waiting tables. I'm 35 years old waiting tables. I had one 6-figure year. Company went out of business. I'm back to waiting tables thinking, I can't believe this has happened to me again. I mean, that was all part of the journey I went through so I could eventually master my emotions to stay in the game long enough to start to create profit. So most people quit before they arrive. Now, and what I mean by that is it means that they don't ever really put the effort forth. They stay behind the glass rather than just tapping it with a hammer and then stepping through it and stepping over it. Now, once you're able to separate your feelings from the events that shape them, that's when letting go happens. You cannot read this book enough times. I mean, you really cannot read this book enough times. I read that book, I read it 7 days in a row. Whenever I get overwhelmed, occasionally, whenever I have any dialogue with money that isn't conducive to the creation of it, I go straight to Hawkins. Breathe and release. And when you begin, Deviani, good to see you this afternoon. Thank you for being on today's Facebook Live. John Ramsey, Rebecca David, thank you for being a top-tier, first-class client. Now, those of you who know me, you know I've been teaching Hawkins for years. Hawkins, Florence Shin, my own content, and a combination of being able to receive and release. And so when you're able to transmute those feelings, when you're able to transmute love, passion, consciousness, understanding, knowing, and awareness, then there's no separation between you and the outcome. The outcome starts to happen like this, like this. Now, those of you who've ever played sports or followed sports or been an athlete yourself, there's zone moments. You've played sports, you played soccer, and you had a 3-goal game, or you played baseball. I had a couple of exceptional zone moments in my career. My last high school football game, I rushed for 100 yards and had receptions for 100 yards. I had one high school doubleheader where I was 10 for 12 in a doubleheader baseball game. I had a 65-foot shot in a high school varsity basketball game as a junior. I had some zone moments. A zone moment is when it's like everything slows down, and it's like in the Matrix. And you can recreate that frequently as you learn to live and be in consciousness. For those of you, I saw Valerie Hoganson, wave out here. I recommended Valerie today. Valerie is an exceptional Reiki master. She's also a remote Reiki master. She is on the Facebook Live here today. There's Valerie. So for those of you who have not had a reading or a treatment from Valerie, I highly, highly recommend her. Also Diane Walker in Kansas City. You can reach out to Diane. I also recommend Cara DeChico Sandre. She's a NATE practitioner, Nambudrapad allergy elimination technique, that she focuses on food allergies, gut allergies, emotional allergies, and of course Carla Vilches. Carla Vilches is mind-blowing. She's someone you absolutely require to experience. Valerie, let them know how to get a hold of you. So just let them know how to get a hold of you. Valerie Hoganson. Valerie's been my client for going on 3 years. And I watched Valerie walk away from a career job. She got her degree in this career, and I just watched her walk away and just said, goodbye, see ya. Yeah, so Power versus Force. Ken asked me if I read Power versus Force. Ken Ludwig, my confidant and friend of over 23 years. Yes, Ken, that was the first book of Hawkins I read. I found it in a metaphysical bookstore in Walnut Creek called Dolphin Dreaming in 2005. That was my introduction to David Hawkins. I was actually reading that. I started reading that day, and I have not put it down since. So for those of you who are on today's Facebook Live, thank you very much for being here this afternoon. It is my privilege and pleasure to be able to share about 20 minutes with you on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon in Central California. So I reside in beautiful Stockton, California, where it is now 100 degrees plus. And we like to say that we have no humidity, so it's not the same kind of 100 degrees. Have an exceptional afternoon this afternoon. If you've not accessed a free 20-minute coaching call, or you're a former client and would like to get a hold of me and find out what my services are in today's world, feel free to reach out to me. And I also endorsed many of you on today's Facebook Live. If you are open to receive, today is a great day to just say that I am open to receive. My dialogue with money is improving. Now that I'm grown up, I'm in the hands-free zone. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Jeffery Combs, Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated.